Hey, doctor, help us with this. And it's a question I think that maybe some families were even grappling with yesterday. Parents who are vaccinated or getting vaccinated, who invariably should feel comfortable, as we've discussed, with other adults who've been vaccinated. And yet so many of us have kids. And when you bring kids together who are not going to be vaccinated, what you do. This is clearly going to be an issue that I imagine we're going to be grappling with through the summer and perhaps even through most of next fall, it sounds like, depending on when children get vaccinated. I'm talking about kids under the age of 16. Some, you know, I think Israel is now doing it for 12 and up. But what are you thinking about kids and how that should play, especially when you have adults on one side vaccinated, kids not?
Well, look, the kids are clearly less vulnerable to the infection, but less vulnerable doesn't mean that they're not vulnerable. And we do see some kids getting sick from coronavirus. I think that this is really the key question. People who are vaccinated can feel that they're far less likely to get seriously ill. They're less likely to get the infection, less likely to transmit the infection. That's what we see in the real-world evidence right now. But if you're around vulnerable people, there's still a possibility, even if you're vaccinated, that you can be asymptomatic and shed the virus and transmit the infection to that vulnerable person. So I think this is a reason why, when you're still in a high prevalence environment, this is really the top reason why someone who's vaccinated should still be cautious. If you're going to be around someone who's vulnerable to the infection who isn't vaccinated, you should wear a mask. You should be prudent. Now, obviously, you're not going to do that with your family and with your kids when you're in the household. But it is a reason why, if you're vaccinated and you're going out in a high prevalence environment where there's a lot of infection, still be careful. I think people who are vaccinated, who are circulating in a very high prevalence environment, should still be wearing a mask, especially if they know they're going to be in contact with someone who's vulnerable. As infection levels come down this summer, and they will come down, I think that we've delayed, the moment when this infection is going to start to disappear, but we haven't forestalled that opportunity. As they come down, then I think people who are vaccinated can take more, less precautions when they're out in public, can go around without masks.
Okay, Scott, I'm going to make it more complicated. I think you were against indoor play dates for kids back in the day. If the parents are vaccinated, how do you feel about indoor play dates?
Look, the parents being vaccinated reduces the risk that the children have the infection and that they're asymptomatic or symptomatic, for that matter, because a lot of the infections that we see on contact tracing actually are kids who get infected from their parents, not kids who are getting infected in school. And that's what we see when we look at schools, outbreaks in schools. In North Carolina, for example, where they have very good data. So if you're interacting with families where the adults have been vaccinated, it's less likely that the kids are going to have the infection. So, look, I'm reintroducing activities with my children, but I'm doing it, I hope, in a prudent way, where I'm still keeping the social network somewhat defined. I'm being mindful about how many people they're interacting with and who they're interacting with. So, for example, a lot of their play dates have been with kids who are in their class. Why? Because that's their social pod. They're already exposed to that social pod, so we're trying to keep the interactions within that defined pod.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.